The 2000s were the start of everything new. It was the brand new era of tech, the iPods, the camcorders, and hello, the entire Y2K aesthetic. That wasn't just it though. The movies got a whole lot crazier because they started making cyber-inspired content that ended up being a huge hit. Let's take a look at some of the dope but underrated sci-fi movies from the 2000s that really should be more appreciated. To start with, we have one of the classics, 2006's Paprika. If you're into psychological thrillers and Japanese animated movies, boy do we have a pick for you. Paprika is actually based on a novel that was written in 1993 by Yasutaka Tsutsui. The movie's kind of about the way humans and machines interact, and it does a pretty good job of showing the violent side of this relationship. Let's talk about the plot. There's basically a conflict between a dream terrorist and a research psychologist. The terrorist steals a gadget that lets people share their dreams and gives them nightmares, while our research psychologist enters the dream realm, transforming into Paprika, a dream detective, to look into the cases. If you think this movie doesn't really sound like one of those nostalgic Ghibli childhood flicks, well, it's not supposed to be. The mastermind behind this film, Satoshi Kon, really wanted to blur the lines between reality and fiction. The difference between the movie and the novel is that there's a parade of intimate dreams that the director wanted to bring in. In fact, he even said he prefers to look at both of these things as the same instead of two separate concepts. It's crazy, but Kon actually rarely copied actual scenes from real life when animating this movie. He was more into making his movie look as abstract and surreal as possible. Honestly, this is one of those movies that might be a bit hard to understand on the first go, but soon become our personal favorite hidden gems once they do make sense. Fun fact, this movie inspired 2010's Inception. Yep, at this point, this should be reason enough for you to go and check this movie out. Following up, another movie from 2006 called The Host. We've all heard about the movie Parasite, right? Well, this South Korean film was directed by the same cinematic genius, Bong Joon-ho. This movie basically is about a monster that is formed after American troops carelessly dump chemicals into the Han River in South Korea. This monster then kidnaps a man's daughter, who then makes it his mission to find and rescue her. Guess what? This is actually based on a true story. A Korean mortician who was employed by an American military in Seoul in the 2000s claimed he received instructions to pour a significant amount of formaldehyde down the drain. In addition to its environmental concerns, this caused some major hate towards the United States. To make it stay true to the actual story, some of the scenes were shot in the actual sewers close to the Hans River. What made the director look at this incident and envision a monster in it though? Well, he claims that a local newspaper item about a fish with an abnormal spine that was discovered in the Han River gave him the brilliant idea. Bong Joon-ho directed the movie for the third time. The reception for his other movies like Barking Dogs Never Bite and Memories of Murder was so good that they had to give a bigger budget for this movie. Let's talk about how big this movie was. The Host made a new record at Korean box office by reaching 10 million tickets in 21 days. Hello? Not only this, but it's also become one of the top films in 2007. Even Universal Studios wanted a bit of this action and were eager to remake the movie. Let's not forget an intense horror like Pulse. This movie arguably has one of the scariest horror scenes ever to exist. First things first, we're talking about the 2001 Japanese version directed by Kiyoshi Kurosawa, and not the 2006 version that has Ian Somerhalder in it. Ian may be pretty hot, but this is about sci-fi movies, and in that regard, the 2006 version was just meh. Anyway, the story behind Pulse 2001 is about ghosts using the internet to invade the world of the living. The entire thing is set in a city where the intense corporate life has now become drab and desolate. Basically, because of a global epidemic, everyone's home to protect themselves. Strange new technologies like computers and cameras seem to be keeping us linked, but they also seem to be a source of evil. The movie has an 87 approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes based on 70 reviews with a weighted average rating of 7 out of 10. There's isolation in this movie that is so scary that it doesn't even need ghosts and monsters to make you uncomfortable. At the same time you get this feeling of being watched, you're kind of already scared before the ghosts show up. If it isn't that obvious already, Pulse reminds us of our modern day world of social media where the internet is technically driven more and more people away. We are still affected by the pandemic, and it seems to have drifted us away from people like never before. So was this movie actually produced ahead of its time? Who knows? What we do know is if you're sick of the same old jump scare horror movies, it's time to check out Pulse. It will truly shake you to the core. Next up is a survival adventure Pandorum. The movie is centered around overpopulation. Oh no, not the actual realistic horror. Basically, Earth's natural resources are depleting because there are just too many people on the planet, so humanity constructs Elysium, an interplanetary ark. This ark makes a 123-year journey carrying 60,000 people to Tanis, an Earth-like planet. What's fascinating is that a rotating crew awakens every 2 years to maintain the ship while the passengers are put into hypersleep. This ship receives a signal from Earth 8 years into the mission, which isn't much if you ask us. Is it just an, okay, yeah, good luck? Literally the worst thing happens? What, you may ask? The technical malfunctions. 2 astronauts wake up when they shouldn't be awake. As the stunning and dangerous truths of the spacecraft are slowly revealed, the astronauts come to understand that it is up to them to save humanity. Imagine if the fate of humanity comes into trouble when 2 people accidentally wake up. Oh, and they also don't remember anything. Oh, and they're millions and millions of miles away from the Earth. Pandorum is a Paul W.S. Anderson production directed by Christian Alvart, and it's a hodgepodge of well-known sci-fi material that feels like it was adapted from a computer game. Pandorum spends so much time in the dark with gritty, jittery edits and indistinct action that it hardly flickers into life when all of its mysteries are resolved. Some people have termed this film a futuristic horror. Honestly, zombies and nuclear explosions in a post-apocalyptic world don't seem so bad, but resource depletion does. It talks about a future where we really do fear even today, and when it's relatable, it's even scarier. Lastly, we have a glimpse of the past in Time Crimes. Time Crimes, or should we say Los Cronocrímenes, if you want to sound distinguished, is a science fiction thriller released in 2007. And this time, it's about time travel. The entire scene is set in a very cute little countryside where a married couple, Hector and Clara, live. Hector basically ends up spying on one of the women who is kind of undressed, but she's lying on the ground as if she's hurt. When Hector goes to make sure she's okay, he sees a bloody man wrapped with bandages on his face next to her, so he bolts. Damn, way to be a hero. Anyway, while running, Hector finds a research facility where a scientist convinces him to hide inside a time machine, and that's where everything goes wrong, folks. To keep track of everything, Hector is named Hector 1, Hector 2, and Hector 3, and this already kind of tells us that maybe he's more than just a simple old husband they show us at the beginning of the movie. Even though the scientist warns him to stay where he is, our hero here manages to run away, gets hit in a road accident, and then wraps his head with bandages. Are you seeing where this is going? What does this loop mean? Is Hector the killer? Well, we're not going to give you all the spoilers. Maybe you should go watch this movie to find out what's next. Time Crimes is full of sinister comedy and has several unexpected twists. In fact, New York Times praised it for being able to show urgency and confusion even though there were very few special effects used. Hey guys, when was the last time you watched a movie from the 2000s and it was a sci-fi thriller? Was it good? Well, that's a wrap for this video. Which of these sci-fi movies would you be interested in? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos just like this one. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.